It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is, let's see how I adjust the picture here. It's a beautiful Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't ask me how I've messed up the picture, but it appears I have. Some of you have probably already figured out. We're not on radio today and likely not on radio tomorrow, preempted for some Vanderbilt sports programming, but nonetheless, we are here and ready to rock and roll. So let's get this party started. Let's go to Murfreesboro and say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
Great, George. How you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. What do you know good?
I don't know it. I'm just wondering where Billy is. Billy's on the run from somewhere. He's not in Pittsburgh, obviously. So where is he? Do we know?
Oh, I think he is with us. In fact, let's bring him up. Billy, are you on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted?
No, I'm not. I'm in Baltimore, to be exact.
You're in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you trying to? Is the little girl said that she's done with you and you're trying to reconcile? Is that what it is? And you're trying to get a little closer to her, and then you're going to go over to Pittsburgh at some point.
No, this is where her family is. So that's
Oh, so we're making the Thanksgiving trip. Oh, this is getting serious, George. Serious. We're having a little eggnog. We're having a little turkey together. We're ready, dude. Little Christmas vacation action.
Yeah, and George picked against the Ravens, and they weren't happy about it here.
To hell with them. It's none of their damn business. If they're so interested in the show, tell them to move to Nashville.
I might.
Okay, so Billy, what's going on in your world? Well, obviously we know.
Well, got a chance to hear from Clark Lee today. It was his press conference ahead of Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and it means so much to him. He said it. I mean, obviously grown up in Nashville, but he just they've been dominated. I did put up the numbers. Josh Heupel, and they've been here. They've been at their schools the same amount of time. Josh Heupel's outscored Clark Lee 149-45. So. No. It just hasn't been good. Heupel's had his number, and so I think that's what a lot of people are interested in, to see, do the defensive changes that Vanderbilt made in the offseason and this year make a difference this year.
Well, I would hope that if you put those scores up on a board, that it would piss off some of the Vandy players and inspire them, because their fan base deserves better than those numbers. And so I would hope on Saturday that they bring it strong.
Yeah, I mean, the motivation's there. I don't know what else you got to say to this team. I mean, you got a chance to. This could be the biggest Vanderbilt win ever, but it's obviously gonna take a lot.
Ever?
Would that be a bigger win than being Alabama number one?
You knock Tennessee out of the playoff. I mean, for Tennessee people, that's. That could be one of the worst losses, most painful losses. You get knocked out of the first 12-team college football playoff.
I think you need to relax a little on biggest football win in school.
I think you need to be maybe the most gratifying, to get to knocking them out. I don't know about the biggest.
That's probably a better word. Thank you, Wordsmith Kelly.
That's
yes.
Right.
Okay, let's check in with Terry McCormick, get into his daily Titans update. Terry, of course, lounging on the lanai at his home in Westmoreland. The lanai, new word. Terry, how you doing?
Good. Got a question for Billy, though, right off the bat.
Oh, really? Wow. Do you know?
Wow.
Now that he's ventured up to be with the girlfriend's parents, you're going there for Thanksgiving. Are they dressing people or stuffing people?
Ooh.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I'm only slightly confused as to how to answer that question.
Do they eat dressing or stuffing on Thanksgiving?
Oh, okay. I'll have to ask. I'll report back.
Yeah.
Why do you care, Terry?
Well, because I grew up in a dressing household, and my wife's family is a stuffing household.
I'm a stuffing.
You're stuffing?
Stuffing.
Yeah. I've always been a dressing guy. My mom made the best.
I grew up in a baklava family.
That's sort of like voting libertarian, right? You get about 2% of the vote.
Yeah, who knows what it is. So, given the fact that it's Thanksgiving on Thursday, do the Titans change their schedule at all with that in mind?
They've pushed it up a little bit. They're going to practice on Thursday, but they're going to get the proceedings started about 2 hours early so they can get people out of the building and get everybody home to enjoy some time with their families.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, there are a couple of things that you want to share, so go.
All right. Been doing a little math homework, George.
Math?
Yes. And maybe Kelly has some insight as to why this is. But I looked at Will Levis's sack numbers, and we all know that the sacks have been an issue for him and the entire offense. And in 9 games last year, he was sacked 28 times, and he's been sacked 35 times in 8 games this year. So normally, as a quarterback plays and progresses, unless the line play is atrocious, his sack numbers should go down because he should become more aware of what's going on. And so some of it you can probably attribute to a new offensive system that he's having to learn and decipher. Some of it is obviously on the line. Some of it, though, I looked back, I did a little more math homework, and I looked at the Bengals during the 5 years that Brian Callahan was there. And they averaged allowing 49 sacks a year. So that's a lot. So some of it may be attributable to the offensive system that they run, along with the quarterback holding the ball too long on occasion, and along with the offensive line missing their share of blocks. Probably a combination of a lot of things.
Terry, as you remember, in the playoff loss to the Bengals, Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times.
9 times. In fact, he was sacked 55 times that year, or the Bengals quarterbacks. I think the backup was sacked 4 times. But
in that game,
they were sacked
9 times.
Just in the regular season, 55 times that year, which was the highest of any of the 5 seasons because Callahan and Zach Taylor were there a year before Burrow arrived, and Andy Dalton was their primary quarterback that year. So had a veteran guy who knew how to get rid of the ball quickly.
Truth be known, this year Joe Burrow has been under siege. He's had a great year in spite of it, but his offensive line, shaky.
Yeah. And here's a question that I have. I know, and I've heard people say this about Levis and other young quarterbacks, that it takes him about a second longer to process than it does a veteran quarterback or somebody who really goes through it fast and quickly, like a Tom Brady would, or like some of your older quarterbacks and your guys that come in and really kind of pick things up quickly. My question is, why is it so hard to find offensive linemen who can block for a second longer until this guy figures out how to get faster? Is the difference in blocking somebody for 2 seconds and 3 seconds really that big of a deal that you can't find anybody who can do that?
I've told people before, and I've told my son the way I raised him playing football, I said, if you have an adequate offensive line, or you don't have a very good offensive line, if you know what you're doing and you know where you're going with the football, you don't have to have a great offensive line. But Joe Burrow's been under siege ever since he's been there, George. And he actually took those guys to a Super Bowl and an AFC championship with an offensive line that sucked. And he's just got that. He understands getting rid of the football. I talked about a little bit about that yesterday after you got off, Terry, about his decision making has got to pick up. It's got to be faster. And I don't know if that's I'm starting to worry that it's just who he is. I don't know that. We're going to have to see a little bit more and evaluate a little bit more. But, like, I could go through that stuff really fast in my head. I had that clock, and I could go from my first read, second read, third read, I'm throwing it away, or I'm running or doing something. I didn't run much. But it was just Tom Moore and Bruce, and when I was in college, I was kind of the same way. So I don't know if you can work on that or it's just who you are.
Yeah, it's interesting because if that's just who he is and that's who they're going with, because, I think what we've seen the last three weeks out of him is that he has the big play capability that you really want in a quarterback, and if they can figure out a way to speed up the processing, then they've got something. But if they can't figure out a way to speed up the processing but they still feel like they can use this guy because he's got big play potential, then you've got to improve the offensive line. That's really your only other option, right?
That's correct.
So it'll be interesting to see where this thing goes for the rest of the year, George, and it'll be interesting to see, how much he improves, because Callahan said yesterday that that's really the next level for him, is to get to where he can make those decisions quicker. Now, there was one time in Sunday's game that where you saw there was a free running blitzer coming off the left side, right past the right tackle, and unblocked, and he saw that and got rid of the football, threw it away. But that was about the only time he did that on Sunday. The rest of the time, he was either hanging in there trying to make a play or not seeing, or stepping up into a sack sometimes when he shouldn't have.
So where we are, Terry, is in the undecided mode. He has not totally grossed everybody out where you say there's no hope, but he is certainly not won everybody over that he's the quarterback of the future. It's somewhere in between.
It is somewhere in between, but a couple of things have me thinking that he's trending toward them keeping him for next year as the starter. One, he's playing better, obviously, over the last 2 or 3 weeks since he's come back from the shoulder injury. It's evident that he's figured some things out and learned some things. Two, the Titans, having won on Sunday, and I'm not ready to declare them a playoff contender, but if they play like they have the last few weeks, they probably got 2-3 more wins in them. Maybe is that fair?
Yeah,
I think so.
So what?
Okay. Well, there are really only two guys who seem to be head and shoulders above everybody else in this upcoming quarterback class, that being Shedeur Sanders at Colorado and Cam Ward at Miami. And the way the Giants and the Raiders, who are both quarterback needy themselves, are playing, I don't know if either one of those teams is going to win another game this year. They have been atrocious. So then there would be no path to getting one of those two guys. And if you have to draft, and if what you're left with is choosing between Quinn Ewers and, a couple of other guys, Dylan Gabriel or whatever, I'd rather have Levis, honestly. I'd much rather have Levis.
I'd rather have Sam Darnold.
Well, that's
you can look. Yeah, we can argue which route they go, but is Sam Darnold today a better option than Will Levis?
Well,
today
sure.
he is.
He's a 7-year vet. He should be. Yeah.
In January, he might not be. I know we got to run, Terry. This is a debate for a future show. Get ready.
Absolutely. See ya.
Okay, good stuff to get the show started. Billy, trust that you have an update with meat on the bone.
It's got some meat on the bone, and I think after thinking about it, I think I'm a stuffing guy. But we'll see what the family is. But anyway, update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Well, last night, Jim Harbaugh improved to 3-0 against his brother, or John Harbaugh improved to 3-0.
You mean John, yes.
Yeah, John Harbaugh improved to 3-0 against his brother Jim in the Ravens' 30-23 win over the Chargers. Is that, Kelly, you think that's real, that John just has his number, or do you think that's more, I mean, what do you attribute that to?
Man, I don't know. It's he's got a better team. Although the Chargers have played really good this year, and I think they're getting better, I just think that the Ravens are one of the top tier teams in the league, and I just think they ran up against it last night, and that's what happened to them in the Super Bowl. I think the Ravens were better than the 49ers at that point. So I know that being around Jim, he's a competitive dude. That's really eating at him because John is his big brother. That's his mentor. He wants to prove that he can beat him, but he hadn't done it yet.
Earlier today in the college ranks, North Carolina announced that Mack Brown will not return next season. One day after he said he intended to return, and there was a report a couple of weeks ago that he would return. So something changed here in the last few days. He will coach against NC State on Saturday, but it's unclear whether or not he'll coach in the bowl game. So very, very interesting turn, late turn there with Mack Brown.
Clearly, I'm bothered for Watson. I don't know Mac the way I know Watson, but obviously Watson and I are really close. So I hate this for them around the holiday season. If you look at North Carolina, when you watch a home game of theirs, you have seen a lot of empty seats, like a ton of empty seats. And that probably spelled doom in this deal, that they just said, we've got to go a different direction. I hope Mac stays in football, and I think what I mean by that is color analyst ESPN, where he was really good.
Yeah. Well, you wonder who they go after as well. Hearing that Arthur Smith could be the Steelers OC could be an option. We'll see where UNC goes there at the head coach. Deion Sanders, meanwhile, says this weekend will not be Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders' last game. He said, no, we got a bowl game. It's not the last time you're going to see them in a buff uniform. So I think that, there will be a lot of players that opt out, but it's pretty clear that they will be playing in Colorado's bowl game. Do have some action tonight. Kent State at Buffalo. Kent State trying to avoid going 0-12. So that's the motivation there. Toledo at Akron, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. George, did you see, how about the Maui yesterday? We had Memphis UConn, with Memphis winning late. Danny Hurley went off on the officials after that one. But Auburn, 18-point comeback late last night.
Oh, terrific game.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that with Mark Griffin a little bit later.
And then Carolina rallied from about 14 down to beat Dayton. So tonight, Houston and Alabama play in what will be a war at 7 p.m. Central Time. Auburn, North Carolina is at 10 o'clock. Duke, Kansas as well. There's some really good hoop games that we'll get into with Mark at 4 o'clock. Billy, I'm guessing the last story is the Tampa Bay stuff.
No, we're saving that for later in the show.
Okay. So let's just say that at some point in the 4 o'clock hour, we will get knee deep into the Tampa Bay Rays stuff. There's a reason that I have tried to schedule Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell for next week, because I think the stuff is about to hit the fan. And I think that's not good news for Tampa, but it could well be really good news for Nashville. We'll go to the break. When we come back, Tony Basilio will join us from Knoxville, and I think he's going to surprise you with some of what he may put out there about this weekend's big game. This is 94.9, The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, big news as we welcome all of you back. Tony Basilio will be in Nashville tomorrow night for the Preds against the Philadelphia Flyers. He'll be signing autographs, I'm sure, between periods.
I'll be signing my new vintage instrument that we're debuting tomorrow night, my new custom guitar. So there is that.
Are the Flyers any better than the Preds?
They're better than I am at guitar.
Wow.
Probably not. I got my winter coat on, or winter cap on for, I just woke up from a nap. I got my winter cap on for, which means I'm going to give you the same attention that Kelly was giving me several months back when I had to talk him.
Wow. You know you're old when you take a nap in the middle of the day, Hoss. You're getting older by the second.
Well, I'm taking another one because we're doing a special show tonight, 8 Eastern time, over on my website, socials, and all that when they do the draw. So we've been doing this every week. We've been doing this every week when they do the playoff draw thing, and we're hoping to stay in it, Georgie, after this weekend. That's kind of a goal around here.
Where do you think they will be tonight with the committee? And I know I'm asking you to try to predict absolute buffoonery, but where do you think they'll be?
I can look that up for you. I will tell you this. I've been very, very, very surprised that my listeners aren't more bullish on this game. There is a sense of pensive optimism around this game from Tennessee fans. And I'm not getting a lot of, hey, we're going to kick the door down with these guys. Hey, Vanderbilt's in trouble. Hey, take it to them. Hey, this, that, and the other. What I get is this Tennessee offense is extremely flawed. this is the biggest game that we've seen here in a long time. I mean, look.
Told you.
College football is a brand new sport. We were trying to come up, George, with a frame of reference today. You know, like, what do we compare this to? And the truth is, there's nothing that compares to this thing. This thing has its own feel. It has its own. Let me tell you this. Josh Hype will lose this game with our fan base. It's going to be really hard to come back from this. You've got a situation where you have a situation where you've got probably 4 times their payroll. You've got a $2 million quarterback. And this isn't about money, okay? But I'm just saying this is what fans are going to say. You're making $10 million. You got all the bells and whistles. You're going to have 75% of the audience in a supposed road game. You can't lose that game. This is the 7th anniversary of a thing we call Shiano Sunday around here, which is very close to our own Independence Day here in Rocky Top, which I was in the middle of, by the way. And the fan base here is not going to put up with losing on Saturday, but there's a high fear of that. Vanderbilt has a credible football team. Tennessee's offense will play, if they play as they perform these SEC games, they'll perform to a level where Vanderbilt will be in this game late. It's everybody's expectation that this is going to be a nail biter. And if that occurs, I wonder if I'm going to have any fingernails left. George, I'm going to tell you right now, this Vanderbilt bunch is a scary, scary proposition for the Vols Saturday. And one of the reasons is I look at the sport. I look at the teams that faced that playoff pressure last week, and a bunch of teams did not handle it well. Chaos is the order of the day. And so I've got Tennessee, so it's like a multitask, number 8. Indiana's number 9. But then when they re-rank them, the Vols as a 9 seed will visit number 8, Georgia. Winner to the Rose against Oregon. I think that's what the committee will do tonight. I also think that Alabama will be the first team out tonight.
Okay, so let me be a jerk about this. Why is this committee trying to keep Alabama alive? Alabama's done nothing on Saturday to deserve that number.
You know, George, I'm looking at the rest of the list, right? You tell me who belongs there, because there's a quirk of fate here. SMU right now is going to box out with Boise being up there. I've got SMU knocking BYU out. You've got BYU at 12. I don't think BYU is in the survey tonight. I think SMU is going to be in the survey tonight.
Hold on a second. Yeah, Billy, is this is
the latest.
Okay, put mine up there because I don't have BYU.
Well, you've done the same thing. You've done the same thing, George. Yeah. So, but we don't have Arizona State. We're not putting a Big 12 champion in ours. That's the difference. Our first 4, because they don't have to take a Big 12 champion. That's the thing that's really interesting about this. They take the first 5 conference champions, the highest ranked, and Arizona State will not be, according to our projections, at least tonight. They're going to have SMU up there. And also, like, for instance, not to get too far in the weeds here, it's Tulane that I was talking about. Yeah. Tulane will be the 12 seed where they'll play a 5 seed Ohio State. And that's the one difference we have with the winner getting Boise State. Boise's going to get the spot that Arizona State's in right now. Arizona State's out this week. I think they're going to do that, George.
Okay, let me ask this because I get violently opposed to this.
Yes.
Boise State in the 4 hole is a joke.
I didn't do it.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is Boise's month that they act like is so hard is going to Wyoming and San Jose.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. You're right. What they've done here is, like we always do with all major college sports, we always take something that could be beautiful and perfect, and we have to, with political correctness, screw around with it. The Boise States, the Tulanes, the Sun Belt teams, CUSA, the MAC, those other leagues ought to be playing for their own championship. They're not playing this same deal. They don't have the same payrolls. I mean, they've got some nice players. The Genty guy's a real nice player, George.
Oh, agreed.
But he's not. I mean, come on.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people believe exactly what you're putting out there, that Alabama is going to be close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, why isn't Ole Miss up there with them?
They're one spot behind them. South Carolina.
Really?
South Carolina's one spot behind them. Here's how I think it's going to go.
Okay. Put it back up there, Billy.
Alabama will be 12. Ole Miss 13. South Carolina 14. Clemson 15. Which means the winner of the South Carolina-Clemson game this week jumps into a spot where they could jump in there and grab if there's some chaos here down the stretch.
How crazy.
So we just differ a little bit, but I've got Alabama. I've got Alabama 12 and Ole Miss 13 tonight, and we'll see what happens. But the guy that helps me with this, guy we call C, George, this guy's like a human computer, and he's nailed this thing the whole time. And I don't quibble with what he's telling me, because generally it's going to be, he's read the committee pretty properly so far. And we'll be talking about it tonight. The two guys that I have on this thing tonight, George, they'll read within this thing and go, oh yeah, that's a good sign for this team, bad sign for this team. They see all the moving parts. George, I don't. You're much better at this than I am. I mean, what you've put up there looks plausible to me, with the exception of Arizona State. I think they're going to get left out here in this survey tonight.
Here's what I've done. I'm not going to insult people's intelligence by putting Boise State in the 4 hole. And to me, any team that's in playoff contention that loses in November by 3 touchdowns, Alabama, doesn't deserve to be. I'm sorry, they've played their way out. I don't understand why we keep trying to dredge Alabama back into this.
But you have Indiana in it, though. They just lost by 3 touchdowns.
They've got 1 loss.
Yeah, but they're not in a comparable league, though. You will give me that, right?
Yes, I will. I will give you that.
I mean,
but I think you could make just as strong a claim for South Carolina right now as you could for Alabama. But I think this is a lot of TV ratings stuff that is getting Alabama, quote, the benefit of all doubt.
I'm not here to argue for Alabama. In fact, it would not surprise me. Alabama's so flawed right now and in such an odd spot offensively. It wouldn't surprise me if Auburn got them this weekend. It looks like 2 teams heading in different directions. And then you also have the deal with the Clemson South Carolina game all of a sudden having some serious intrigue this weekend.
Yes.
We both like that. And how about that? This playoff on its face, now that we've had a chance to walk through this, I want them to stay at 12. I know they're going to go to 14. 12 creates tension. It creates arguments. It's very interesting. And with a straight face, I could look at somebody. I'll tell you what I'd like to say, because I wonder about the Big 12. Somebody made a great point on my program today about the Big 12, which is this. The Big 12 is like the middle of the Southeastern Conference. There's not a great team there, but there are a bunch of really good middle teams. I would love to see what Vanderbilt could do, this Vanderbilt team, if they played a Big 12 schedule from pillar to post. I would bet you they would go 9-3 or something like that, maybe even a little better. I would bet you they'd be towards the top of that league.
Kelly, as you know, Tony called you out earlier about your level of.
So what? So what? So what, George? Doesn't matter.
No, I
We're
said
not
I was
worried about
asleep.
that.
I said I was asleep. I was stumbling over my words. It's taking me a while to shake off the cobwebs. And I was like Kelly
you look like
several
you're
months
still
ago.
asleep. You look like
Oh,
you're still asleep, Tony.
Yeah.
Hey, so when we're looking at that thing, do you think we talked about this earlier in the week and maybe last week, but you think they'll revise this thing? The committee will revise this thing? Like, I don't think it needs to be like I think it needs to be the top 4 teams in the country that gets the bye. Like, why are we worried about conference championships and all that? Don't you think they'll go back and revisit this at some point?
No, I don't, because they have to justify. They have to justify using the conference championship games. The conference championship games are a key component in this, and here's why: they're huge moneymakers.
Yeah,
and they're not going to give up the ghost on the moneymakers. But they've done a really pathetic job of explaining this to people, that the conference champions are the ones that are playing for the buys. If you can't win a conference championship game, you can't get a bye. To your part, Kelly, what you would like to see is, let's say, hypothetically, let's say Texas went through the SEC at 12-0, got beat in the conference championship game. Kelly wants Texas to get one of the 4 at-large seeds at the end of that, because they would have been 12-1 and would have deserved it. These people are saying the only entree to you getting a national bye is by being a team that wins a conference championship game in a conference, in one of these championship games. And again, they're going to take the top 5 conference champions out of these leagues, and there are 9 of these teams that are going to play in these championship games. It's silly. I mean, they're going to jump, George, I think, a group of 5 team over that Big 12 champion, especially if Arizona State gets there. Iowa State's got a pretty good shot to jump back in. But if Arizona State wins that thing, George, you imagine what the general public is going to do when they see that, when they see that from the 5 slot, Ohio State, who's already played in an easy league, is going to get a crack at, or Oregon is going to get a crack at a group of 5 team, and then play a group of 5 team in the Fiesta Bowl, George. You talk about the best spot in the bracket.
The 5 hole.
The 5 hole, baby.
Hey, so Tony, you talked about it, the pressure. Like, some of these teams last week did not handle that pressure well. No. And that's what makes me think this weekend's game, obviously, you've talked about it already, the Vanderbilt, Tennessee, that's the most pressure that these Vols have been in for a long time, because everybody thinks they need to be a 12, in the 12-team playoff. But this Vanderbilt team's not a usual Vanderbilt team. So has Coach said anything about that? Or what are the people, I know you read some things off, but what are the people feeling about that pressure? Because there's going to be some pressure this weekend in Nashville on the Vols.
Pressure's real. Pressure's real. And now they're in a spot they haven't been in.
Right.
Pressure's real. The advantage for them is they're going to be playing before a friendly crowd. This is a spot where you're really glad Vanderbilt doesn't have that legit following, and you're not walking into a stadium with 40,000 people in your face. Because if you told me Tennessee was walking into a stadium with a crowd that's 90% that crowd, the way these guys have performed on the road, I don't know that I would like Tennessee in this spot. The fact that there will be 75% of the stadium is going to be Tennessee people, which is kind of a remarkable thing if you stop and think about that for a second. But that is the expectation, that Tennessee fans will buy their way into that stadium. The other thing about Saturday is, and we don't know till we get there, because around here, the weather changes every 15 minutes. But they're calling for temperatures in the 30s. Mm-hmm. We have not seen Nico play in this kind of weather. We have no idea. This is the first cold weather game he would be involved in this year.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that. So you talked about them being flawed, and we've talked about this a little bit, but why do you think they're flawed? Do you think they just don't have the playmakers as we saw with the Hendon Hooker era, or is it Josh Heupel? Everybody's figured out Josh Heupel. Why do you think the offense is flawed?
I don't know, but they're not making big plays. I mean, they made them last week, but they took their first quarter off Here's a problem this week. If it takes you 4 drives this week to get going on offense, if you take 4 drives off this week, you won't touch the ball till near halftime. Last week they played an opponent. They kept running fast, going fast. Every play was a fast play. Every play was a quick play. And they kept getting, Tennessee would get the ball back. They had a chance to work the kinks out. But Nico had something like, 16 yards passing after like 3 drives last week. You can't take, and the first throw he threw the other day should have been intercepted. You cannot take 3 drives off if you're Tennessee in this game. First 3 drives. That's not an option. So they have to be purposeful. I mean, you guys know Vanderbilt's style is to keep the ball away from you, limit possessions. And I'll tell you that the game that really had me believing that this could be a kind of I want to say a loss, but a really close game was the way Vanderbilt played Texas. That felt like it was going to be a blowout in the middle and late in the second quarter in that game. And you looked up in the fourth quarter, and that was a 1-score game, and Vanderbilt had the football. And that was committing 2 turnovers. The Vandy team's turned it over 6 times this year. So they don't make mistakes. This Pavia guy, the other thing is, how much does he have in the tank? Who knows? Yeah. I don't know. But he could walk out of there like an all-time legend. Like, I'm talking never have to pay for a meal ever again among their fans. I mean, Billy might even buy him something. Yeah.
Well, Billy will be in Baltimore.
Interesting.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
If Tennessee loses this game, do you think it's more likely that it's on Nico and you can blame Nico, or you give credit to Pavia because Pavia made plays? Like, what's more likely, that Nico lost it and made mistakes, or that Pavia went out and made enough plays to win it?
Oh, I think it'd be the Pavia thing. Nico has not been – the one thing about him is they have not been terribly dynamic with him at quarterback, which I think is a problem. Kelly said it earlier. I think they've hurt him with scheme this year. They don't use their backs at all. They don't throw the ball to backs. They don't make it easier on their quarterback. And they're playmakers. For Tennessee, they've got a mid group of wide receivers. Billy, it's what they are. They're mid. I mean, these guys it's a mediocre group of wide receivers, and they've got older guys that have been beat up and still playing. If Vanderbilt wins the game, Pavia is going to have to make plays. What do you run the ball, like 6 times last week?
Yeah, not much.
Is that what it was? It's going to have to be – he's going to have to run the ball 18 times Saturday, I think. And Tennessee, by the way, is going to keep the ball on the ground Saturday, too. That's another thing. They're going to – because they can. I mean, they're going to use Dylan Sampson, and Dylan Sampson might get an old school usage this week. They might get him 28, 29, 30 carries in this game before it's over.
Wow.
And that's the way Tennessee used to do it against Vandy. They would sleepwalk, and then when they got to a point where it was needed, they'd give it to the tailback and get the hell out of the way. And
absolutely.
That's the way they used to be able to do it. Now, can they do it that way Saturday? We're going to find out.
Well, yeah, I think we are. And Tennessee's passing game just is not how they're winning games. It's just not. I mean, it's completely opposite. If you'd have told me back in the summer they'd be playing for a 10-2 spot, of course, you'd say you'd take that every day. Chance to get into the playoffs with a win at Vanderbilt, I just said they would hammer that team. Nobody up here thinks Tennessee's hammering that team because Vanderbilt's better than they were supposed to be. And Tennessee's passing game, to this point, just hasn't been dynamic enough for anybody credibly to say, oh, yeah, that's a 45-14 game.
So if a person is listening to this and they say, man, I want to hear that guy tonight.
Why would they do that?
Well, I don't know. But
why would anybody? Kelly knows. Wonder why.
If they do, how do they achieve that?
Well, tclub.team. Your next guest, Mark Griffin, writes for us on our blog before each game and does Griffin's 3-pointers. He's the man that made this famous. bow thy head when you say thy name, Mark Griffin. I will say this, though. tclub.team. Tonight we'll be on there. George, I'm such a master of details. I was telling people all day long, about 7:15 Eastern, tune us in.
Oh,
The draw thing doesn't start till 8, George. 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'm lucky I know what day it is.
So we've got to readjust a little bit.
With me, there's always a readjustment, but tclub.team is where you find me. And I got to say to Kelly Holcomb today, hey, this guy's been dialed in. Dialed in.
I'm always dialed in, Tony. You're just trying to start something, man. That's how you're doing. I know your MO now, Hoss. I get it.
Hey, Kelly, how about my Eagles? Not only do they get Saquon Barkley as a gift, right? But the Titans gift them A.J. Brown. How would you like to be when you played that position? How would you like to be gifted those two playmakers? Think they can make you look good?
Is that not unbelievable what Saquon Barkley can do? Why would you not pay him? They pay Daniel Jones, not Saquon. And Saquon, when he played, are you serious?
One word.
Daniel Jones is a free agent right now.
One word to describe it. Dumb. Okay, autograph session tomorrow night at Bridgestone.
George, I'll tell you this. You and I, after the first period, what section is that? Let's hold court. Let's
304. 304.
We will be outside of 304. Please bring Sharpies, 8x10s.
Right.
Find photos of me when I was younger, please.
Waivers that you won't do anything wrong with these.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow. See you tomorrow night.
George, I'm looking forward to it. It's been the first time I'll see the Flyers play live since 1981, George.
Oh, my God.
43 years.
Okay, get fired up. See you tomorrow night.
Flyered up. See you guys.
Flyered up. I like that. Okay, we'll go to the break, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of what he put out there. We'll do that right after this. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family. And she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, let me get to the crux of it real quick with Kelly and Billy. If Alabama tonight, by the committee's rankings, is still really close, whether they're in or not, if they're really close, is that the committee pandering to big name television?
Billy?
I think it's just Alabama. I mean, Alabama's the college football program. You know, it's Bama, Ohio State. You know, I think it's really just Alabama. I mean, Alabama. You think if you're living in California, you know, and you don't care one thing about college football, you've heard about Alabama's football program. So I think it's just the name. I don't know, and it probably is a little bit of, you know, the network pandering too. But I think it's Alabama, Kelly.
That's what I thought, George, when you keep talking about that. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think they deserve to be in, but it's the brand. And if you think about it, they've been on top with Nick Saban for so long that people just say Alabama, Alabama, and they're going to try their best to get them in. Like if they come out and they play game busters and go into
Put them in. Yep.
Auburn and wear them out, they're going to be in my opinion. Which is crazy to me with 3 losses. I don't understand it. And I was going to ask Tony, too, about all this stuff. I know there's no buyer's remorse. I get that. But, like, do you really think, like because it's money, we get this about these big conferences. But them letting Texas and Oklahoma in, well, Oklahoma just kind of ruined the apple cart for Greg Sankey in the SEC the other night when you put Alabama out there, and they had nothing to play for, and they wore Alabama out. Alabama didn't look like they wanted to be there. They weren't very physical. Jalen Milroe didn't play good. They stopped him every way they could. And that stat that Billy brought up yesterday, the 3 losses, he's only got 28 yards in those 3 losses of running the football. That's not who they are with him at quarterback. I said it yesterday. I don't think he's Kalen DeBoer's type guy, but I think he got thrust into that situation. But if they beat Auburn bad, they're going to the playoffs, in my opinion.
Is it a lock if Tennessee loses? You think Alabama's in? Like, is that, you know, because maybe that's an easy way where you said, okay, you had Ole Miss lose, you had Tennessee lose, and you know, Alabama lost 2, but it's Alabama, so we're gonna, you know, do they get that for who gets first dibs if they do have to put a 3-loss team in?
Here's all I'm saying with this, okay? This is not a scenario where, you know, Alabama lost on a 2-point conversion, 24-23 in a game that, man, they were right there.
Yeah.
They were never there. They slept-walked through the first half. They were completely unprepared, completely undisciplined. They have screwed up their chance. Why do we keep giving them more chances? They should be dead and buried. If they're not dead and buried, then South Carolina ought to be right there with them.
I don't know if they were unprepared, George, but I think it really got on them the other night when they started making mistakes. You could just tell in Jalen Milroe's eyes that the tension. Tony even talked about it just in our last segment. The tension with this stuff of getting into the playoffs and the pressure at Alabama, of being the quarterback at Alabama, playing at Alabama, that hit them like a ton of bricks the other night because they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're going to lose this game," and you could see it all in Jalen Milroe's face.
Yeah, South Carolina has a better shot, or maybe not a better shot, but they've got a better resume than Alabama.
But they don't have a better brand.
Not the same. That's right. They don't have the same brand.
So now, don't we need to tell people that the brand? I mean, the committee's not going to tell us that until they put Alabama right on the cusp tonight, and then you will know this is about brand. It's about pressure from the network to get the biggest names, and they haven't been telling us that.
I think you'd be right, Joe. Like if they're that first team out, that's
Then
telling
you'll
us a
know.
lot. Yeah.
You'll know.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, better look at that running back at Arizona State. I hear all this Genty, and Genty's a great Mr. Scattaboo, can flat out Scattaboo. He's pretty good. They're pretty good.
That's amazing. It's amazing, though, guys, that nobody is like George put Arizona State in the top 4. Nobody was even thinking about Arizona State to begin the year or in the middle of the year. It's amazing. That's what all this stuff does. There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of teams that we don't think is going to be there. I think that's what's intriguing about this whole 12-game playoff.
Hey, I think this weekend could be crazier than last weekend because
put the last comment up. That's hilarious.
The sunken grave. Oklahoma stepped on their faces with a hobnail boot and broke their
So when Larry Munson made the thing about the hobnail boot, the quarterback for Georgia has become a friend of mine, David Green. And I asked David one time, I said, do you even know what the hell a hobnail boot is? And he said, no. He said, I really don't. I don't know that anybody does. If somebody knows what a hobnail boot is, write it into the comment section.
That's the legend of Larry Munson right there.
It's hilarious, isn't it? Tell you what, are you all in agreement that now Clemson, South Carolina has some real meaning?
Very much so. 100% meaning.
In the ACC for Clemson. I mean, for South Carolina, is South Carolina still playing for a playoff berth, do we believe?
They beat Clemson, maybe.
Deep down, no, because they're not the brand.
And if they're not the first team out, I don't know that South Carolina is technically playing for anything. I mean, maybe technically if they win, they'll have a shot. But for Clemson, the ACC, stakes are massive.
So 7:00 tonight for the pairings showing. If you hear an explosion around 7:15, it'll probably be me. I know we got to go to the break. Then we'll do stat of the day, which is likely to bomb based on recent history. And then I see Mark Griffin ready and raring to go on a night of hoops that will include Houston, Alabama, Duke, Kansas, and North Carolina against Auburn. That's big time stuff. This is the George Plaster Show. And Billy, don't you forget it.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket.
The Predators win!
Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators take on the Philadelphia Flyers this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Get your tickets at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. The Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night is set for Monday, December the 2nd, here at the Strike and Spare Family Fun Center at 3436 Lebanon Pike. The proceeds go to two really worthy causes: Last Minute Toy Store and the Martha O'Brien Center. It costs $200, and it's a night of fun you'll never forget. If you'd like to be a part of it, simply email me at plastergeorge@gmail.com for a night you'll never forget.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
We got Mark Griffin coming up, talking a little college hoops, but first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers, 3 locations, one in Old Hickory, one in Hendersonville, and one in Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to their website. That's applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we're going college basketball, specifically in the SEC from last night. Auburn is the 4th team in AP poll history to start a season 5-0 with wins over multiple top 5 teams. Who was the last team to do this?
You know what? Let's get Mark into this and blame it on him. What do you think, Kelly?
I totally agree because I'm at a loss, as usual, on the stat of the day.
Okay, let's bring Mark in here to help us. Hello, Sunshine. What's going on?
Oh, great. Put me on the spot, but that's fine. I don't mind.
Who do you think it is?
14 start 5-0 with wins. Last team. You know what? I'm going to be a sheep and say Tennessee. I don't know.
That was my pick. Since Mark was coming on, that was my logical thinking there.
Billy, show us the big orange.
KU.
There you go.
Wow.
KU, yeah.
So on that team, because that was the year after they won it all. They won it all in the spring of '88. And that team in '88 had Danny Manning, our friend Kevin Pritchard, Mark, who ended up living here for a while. 89-90, I don't know. Manning wasn't a part of that team, was he?
Nope. NBA.
Yeah. Okay. So
there you go.
We're 0 for today, Kelly.
Yeah, well, it's not surprising with these questions. We could have been here for 2 weeks figuring that out.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
So officially, we welcome all of you into the 4 o'clock hour. And left to right on your supposed radio dial, except it's podcast today. Yours truly, former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb, and Tony Basilio, internet provider of content, former Vol Mark Griffin. Does that make you like a thespian?
If I knew what it meant, but I'll take it. But I don't know if I want to be affiliated with Tony and he not be on the air with me here because, he'll always find one way to bash one of us.
Oh, wow. So, Billy, isn't thespian somebody who writes?
I think so. It's
I don't know.
No,
Billy's
it's relating.
Google it.
It's relating to drama and the theater.
Oh, well, then to hell with it. That's
no
not
theater here. No acting.
Yeah, that's not it. Okay. So I got this piece of paper with a bunch of these games tonight. Houston, Alabama at 7 o'clock. Duke, Kansas at 8 o'clock. Auburn, North Carolina at 10 p.m. It doesn't get much better than that.
I mean, you're right. This is like NCAA tournament games that in the Elite Eight or something that we're looking at here. And we're not even in the conference schedule yet, George. So what amazing TV for this evening. I know we'll all be tuned in watching these 3 games.
Kelly, I don't know if you're aware of this, but through the station, through the show's resources, Mark was able to go to the Bahamas and watch Tennessee play down there last weekend.
Oh, really?
Our resources got him as far as Fayetteville, Tennessee.
Right where I'm from, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's not far, I promise.
No. So, Mark, what was it like? Tell us.
Well, you know what was amazing? If you ever really get a chance to go to these what I call pre-conference mini tournaments, you got to go if you get a chance. It's this gym, and it was in a casino, the Baja Mar, who I'd never heard of it before. I've heard of the Atlantis, which they have a tournament there that goes on every year. Very intimate environment. There's probably, I would say, 600 to 800 people max. I was fortunate to sit right behind the bench so I could listen to Coach Barnes and the players discussing strategy and watch him draw up plays. A lot of your, like, let's say, for example, the Vol fans, your Vol faithful were there, donned in orange, and your other fans from other programs like, Baylor was there, Virginia and St. John's wearing their colors and proud. It really felt like tournament time, postseason tournament time.
Yeah.
But the big takeaway I got was how much better I felt, just focusing on Tennessee here, how much better defensively I think they are so early in the season than I thought they would be. And they just seem to really be in sync with each other. And I know usually when you begin a season, your defense is ahead of your offense, but they were really in tune with each other and, really communicating and just played great against two really fine opponents in Virginia and Baylor.
Virginia more likely to be the one to try to keep it in the 60s. Baylor, the one more likely to try to, get it up tempoed a little bit. Now that you've seen Tennessee, if I put you on the spot and said, okay, what kind of season are they going to have? What's your answer?
Well, I know we're going to focus on Alabama and Auburn a little bit here during this segment or this today. I have them behind both of those programs, finishing third, along with a lot of the pundits, which, that's where you guys come in. I think, once again, they'll be top 10 defensive team in the country. Nashville's own Chaz Lanier has done a fantastic job transitioning into the program and put on a show against Baylor. He had 7 3-pointers in the first half. I think he finished with 25. Could have scored 40 if Coach Barnes would have gone to him more, but he ran more of his system offense and gave more people opportunities to score. Area of concern, inside presence offensively. A big concern for me is end of games. You want your best free throw shooters at the line to seal the victory. I'm concerned with UT able to draw fouls to get to the line at the end of each half to take advantage of their free throw shooting, because with UT inside and no offense to any of their inside players like Felix Okparo, not going to get a lot of points from him each night. That's not why he was brought in, but you would like to see more of an offensive finesse from him. Maybe he will continue to develop. He's mainly going to be a shot blocker, rebounder, and really good defender, which is improvement over inside defense from last year. But that's my concern, is going up against a team like Auburn and Johanny Broome. That's going to hurt them, I feel. And if you're not getting some help inside from people like Cade Phillips, who played really well against Baylor, Dubar, who is a kid that transferred from Hofstra as his first time to get some action. He's going to have to step it up because their big presence in 6'11" JP Estrella, if you guys are aware, he's out for the season. And that's really going to hurt them depth-wise. So the depth inside is the area of improvement, but they've got great guard play and fantastic defenders.
Mark, when I was first allowed the chance to be, at a really young age, a color analyst at age 23 on Vanderbilt games. We'd go to Alabama, and there was some level of interest in basketball. You'd go to Auburn. They didn't know if it was pumped or stuffed. They couldn't have cared less. And now when you say these are two schools that truly could be in the Final Four, how did this happen?
Well, I go back to the commissioner when, and George, you guys will know what years, but years ago, they really stepped up, the SEC did, in bringing in top coaches or better coaches, big name coaches to the program, and said, we are going to excel not only in football, being known as a football school, which is great, but we're going to expand that, not only just in baseball, but also all sports mainly now, but really focusing on basketball. You always had great athletes in the SEC for decades, George. But as far as top coaches, I think that's really stepped up in the, I don't know how many years, last 10 to 15 years. I mean, you see what Coach Pearl has done for Auburn, and you see here with Alabama. I mean, you take a risk on a guy that came from Buffalo, but, you know, congratulations to the AD from Alabama. And just really excelling in the sport that has interest. And it's amazing. I'm really happy for both Auburn and Alabama, because you're right, the history's not been great as far as postseason tournament success. And either of these teams, I really do feel like you said, George, could go to a Final Four. I don't see that this season for Tennessee. I hope I'm wrong. I would be very pleased, guys, if they made it to at least the Sweet 16. Once you get there, anything can happen. But I just have some concerns on the inside. But it's a long season. If they can stay healthy, win in their backyard, then who knows? And that's the great thing about the SEC. We just don't know. We can guess. You know, the coaches have their poll, the media has their poll, but you got to play the game.
Once we get past the football stuff, the bowl season, Mark will be on with us, I would guess, on Fridays, as has been the case before, and love talking hoops with him. Kelly, you and Billy take it from here.
Mark, I was looking at the roster, and I don't even know if you can answer this, man, but I was looking at the roster, and the only one I can recognize is Kai Ziegler. And you got Rick Barnes, who's an older guy, and he understands that he's got to play this game with the transfer portal. But, like, what type of kid? Because I think Coach Barnes is kind of a different coach. He's not going to take just any and everybody. What type of kid is he looking for?
Great athlete, great defender, and then he will coach up from there to teach him how to become a full-fledged shooter. I'll give you a great example. Jemai Meshack. When Jemai came in 4 years ago, he's a senior. I really thought, okay, he can come in and defend, but who's going to guard him? He couldn't score. And I've watched him evolve over his 4-year career. And I'm going to go ahead and say now, I think Tennessee goes as far as Meshack, because he is so strong defensively. He's such a leader defensively. We hear a lot about Ziegler on his defense. Once again, great defender. Meshack is an elite SEC defender. You will see him guard the opponent's best guard many times if they're much bigger than Ziegler, because, you know, Ziegler's only 5'9". Meshack, I think, is he's 6'4", so, and he's just strong, and he has developed a three-point shot. So, Kelly, to answer your question, Coach Barnes doesn't get enough credit for developing players over a longer term period. You know, he may get a 1-5 star a year, which is great, you know, by title, but it's about getting guys that are going to go in and rough it up, because if you don't defend at UT's program, you don't play. I will say this about Auburn. One of the knocks on Auburn, they may play and not defend, but they're such great athletes that can score. But Coach Barnes' number one rule, if you're not going to defend and you don't take care of the ball, you're not going to play. And that's one of the issues. I'll give you an example of another great athlete that I hope steps up, Cameron Carr. Number 43, he's out with an injury right now. I think he's the best athlete on the team. But he may be limited in minutes because he doesn't seem to play, from what I've witnessed at practice and games, 100% all the time. And Barnes just won't put up with it. And they know that. They know that when they're recruited, you're going to have to play hard. You're going to have to play together, but you're going to defend, and I will develop you.
So, Mark, give us a little rundown of the SEC, especially with Oklahoma and Texas coming in. Mark Pope, I mean, he ends up beating Duke with a roster that he didn't even have a couple of months ago. I think they've got the coach they want there, a former Kentucky guy who actually coaches, and he's there to win ball games. So just give us like an overall view of the SEC and what you think about it this year.
Well, it's interesting. I'm a big fan of bracketology. I went there today. 11 teams out of, how many now, George? 16.
By the way, it'll be Thanksgiving on Thursday.
Yeah, right. So, the way I look at that, there's only 5 teams not projected to make the tournament, which is amazing. So, to give an overall viewpoint, I think the SEC is just getting stronger in both directions. From the bottom, let's say your bottom feeders have gotten better. I think you've got a couple of teams that really could be Final Four teams in Alabama and Auburn. As of now, it'll be a really big challenge to see what holes can be poked into each of these programs because, Alabama was like Auburn several years ago. They win or die by the three-point shot. And some days, Kelly, you're just not going to hit threes. And if you don't have inside presence, get to the line, you're going to get beat. And I see that happening on multiple occasions for Alabama. I'm a little bit bigger on Auburn right now because of their depth. They got a lot of young guys that are coming in, but they play so hard. And one quick thing, just still focusing on those two. I know you asked about the whole SEC, but one important thing I want you guys to watch when Auburn plays. Watch when they defend an out-of-bounds play. You will not see a better defensive team that gets steals from out of bounds when they're defending. It's unbelievable the effort that Coach Pearl puts into defending an out-of-bounds play. But once again, Kelly, teams to look out for, Florida. I think Florida's going to have a great season. Another team that not many people have talked about that I think is really going to move up the ladder this year is Georgia. This is a team that struggled last year. Coach White had a really good recruiting year. Remember the name Asa Newell, freshman. I think he is going to be a fantastic addition to the SEC. Blue Kane, who's out of Knoxville, sophomore, and others. I think you're going to see a much better team by Vanderbilt. They're going to be a team that fans are going to want to come watch play this year as opposed to last season. And hopefully we'll have, George have another program to talk about besides Vanderbilt this season, because I think they're going to put a quality team on the court and especially at home. I look forward to seeing Memorial Magic come back to where they beat some teams besides UT that they, probably aren't good enough to beat on a normal evening, but because they're home and that home court advantage and that heat, I think you're going to see some surprises. And I'm just trying to think of some other teams out there, but the ones that really stand out to me are Florida and Georgia. With Vanderbilt, I think they'll be better. And then you mentioned Kentucky. I mean, what a great job. What a great fit for Mark Pope. Really happy for him. He started out in the SEC as a grad assistant at Georgia, and to work his way up like he did. Someone that loves the Wildcats, and I failed to mention Arkansas, the best team money can buy. It's funny because people are going to have to beat Arkansas like Kentucky. It's a Calipari type team. You got to get them early because come March they're going to be a different team because of the youth. It's just hard to make all those kids happy. You just can't. You're not going to make them happy. So that's the question mark for me is how the big thing I'm looking forward to the most. I want to see how Arkansas plays this season. Will they be an elite team battling for the SEC, or will they be a middle of the road team? Because Calipari's kind of run out of excuses, guys. I mean, he's a new program, new start, but he's the same old coach.
Yeah.
Mark, I appreciate you taking the time. It's interesting. On the Mark Pope thing, Mark Fox is actually on his staff, and he was of course at Georgia there under Mark Fox, which I thought was interesting. But it's interesting looking like Vanderbilt's a team that looks totally different from last year in their tempo and their pace, and they use defense. Their defense, Byington's style is use defense to create offense, and it feels like that's very common now, whether it's Nate Oates or Pearl. And I'm sure Rick Barnes has even slightly adjusted his style because you kind of have to. I mean, it's like Saban at Alabama in college football. Have you seen that? Have you seen kind of a similar formula with these elite teams where they're getting up and down the floor? It's looking more like the NBA, where we're seeing some 90 and even 100-point games, especially with teams like Alabama and at the top of the SEC.
I think you're right. I think it's what the kids want when they're recruited. They want to get up and down the court, and I hate it for Virginia especially when Tony Bennett was there, because I really, really love Tony Bennett. But that basketball is not the way people want to play. Just defense. Even the most elite team in college basketball right now that's renowned is Houston. They still have some guys that can put the ball in the basket. But you're right. Players want to get up and down the court. Coaches want to let them run. They want to have the key to the up and down the court high fast tempo is you got to have depth, because you cannot play 40 minutes of up-tempo basketball without depth. So those teams that have depth will succeed even more. And they do. The model is following the NBA. The NBA rules, when Steph Curry effect came in shooting three-pointers, what did College Game go to? Three-pointers. Now, Vanderbilt was an early adopter back in the 80s, adopted three-point line probably quicker than most programs. But you see that now amongst basketball is quick shot, get back on defense, up tempo, pressure, substitute.
Is Alabama the best team in your mind, Mark?
I'm bigger on Auburn. I really am. I just think with Broome, I'm a huge fan of Broome, and I've seen them play on TV several times. I love the energy, obviously, of Coach Pearl. He really coaches his butt off. And no offense to Nate Oates and the Alabama followers. I think once again, both teams have a shot at the Final Four. But here's an interesting stat I wanted to give to you guys before you cut me off, George.
Yeah, my bad there, Mark.
That sounded like a threat.
No, George will cut me off. I know. You play 13 pre-conference games before you go into your conference schedule. I looked this up because I'm looking at the schedule, and George had mentioned, how tough the night is. Did you know that Alabama has 11 teams out of 13 that are predicted to go to the NCAA tournament?
Wow.
11 out of the 13. Now, to put this in perspective, Auburn is facing 9 teams that have been projected to go to the NCAA tournament. Let's look at UT, because you may wonder, what about your school? 3. Okay, that's more the norm. It's not normal in today's basketball world to stack your preseason conference games that well. That's the key, I think, that's going to help both of these programs even more when they go into conference time. You're going to have your pregame talk, and Kelly knows about these pregame talks when you play tough opponents. They're going to go in and say, hey, when we beat Houston, this is what we did. Let's do it again. Or, when we lost, like Alabama, we lost the game at Purdue, if we'd have just, cleared these mistakes, we'd have been victorious. Let's clear them tonight. So you're able to talk about that versus little, sisters of the poor every game. And it really does help. And the players want to play against top opponents because they played against these young men when they were playing travel basketball for either Adidas, Nike, or Under Armour. So they want to play against the guys that they were either rated against or battled on the court. And that's what I really picked up about looking at Auburn and Alabama's pre-conference schedule that blew my mind.
Mark, this was great stuff. I knew it would be. By the way, I enjoyed playing against the Little Sisters of the Poor.
They may have let you play, right?
Well, at the Green Hills Y, they were always there. Anyway,
plus your dad would have had a front row seat too, by the way. Probably, I don't know if he swore or not, but I could see him swearing out the Little Sisters of the Poor to let you get the ball.
Actually, I would have been doing play-by-play, and Dad would have taped it for me. Among the things I ought to be thankful for. Mark, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
See you, brother.
Talk to you later.
All right, see you, Kelly. See you guys. Billy.
Okay, after the break, we're going to talk about developments that broke this morning in Tampa that have me fired up about Nashville and Major League Baseball. I know you're going to sit there and say, I've heard this before. Well, you're going to hear it some more when we come back.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Okay, we're back. I want to remind everybody, next Wednesday, Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell will join the show, and we'll ask him a variety of things in the sports world that I now am starting to think really need to be asked. This story broke earlier this morning by way of ESPN. I'm going to read some of it to you. The Tampa Bay Rays have until Sunday to declare whether they want to commit to the construction of a $1.3 billion stadium originally voted on in July. Kathleen Peters, Pinellas County Court Commission chairperson, that's a lot to say, issued a letter Monday to Rays President Brian Auld requesting a decision from the team. Last week, Auld and Silverman wrote a letter to the county commission that suggested the team would not agree to a deal for a new stadium and is, quote, ready to work on a new solution in the area. Rays officials wrote in the November 19th letter that a new stadium would not be completed in time for the 2028 season, while opening a stadium the following year would be too expensive. The team also wrote that it has spent over $50 million toward building the new stadium, but the county has allegedly, quote, suspended work on the entire project. Well, first of all, the first thing that caught me about this story is that the commission is requesting a decision from the team on Sunday of Thanksgiving holiday weekend.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's what I just thought about, George. Why would they do it so soon?
Because that tells me things have gotten very pissy between the two sides. Now, I'll say this going in. If Tampa Bay, if the Rays ultimately make the decision that they're not staying in Tampa, I think Major League Baseball, there is absolutely no doubt, wants that franchise to stay on the East Coast. If they make the decision, Nashville will absolutely be number one on the list, according to my MLB sources, by a mile. Not close, but by a mile. And so then you get into questions about, okay, we don't have a stadium here. And certainly that's a huge issue. That's one of the things I'm going to talk with Freddie O'Connell about when we do the interview Wednesday, because he has made it very clear that once the city builds the Titans Dome Stadium, they're tapped out. And so whoever is going to be involved in this is going to have to participate heavily in the building of that stadium. Kelly, I believe there are two groups in Nashville that are viable. I think the former Governor Haslam group is a very viable group. Dave Stewart, the former Oakland A's pitcher, becomes more and more viable with each passing day. The John Lohr group, they can write all the press releases they want. They can put all the stuff out on social media. They haven't got any more money than I do. In the end, they are what I have said they are. They are the emperor with no clothes. It's the first two groups, Dave Stewart, former Governor Haslam, that you need to pay attention to. And Kelly, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We're going to get a major league franchise. How, when, and where, I don't know. Nobody knows. Maybe the mayor knows.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that the Titans and the Predators have shown what a great professional sports city this is. And there's so many people moving into the Middle Tennessee area each day. It's kind of unbelievable. There's so much, like, you go to Nashville now, George. We've talked about it, about the construction. You can't get down there without a traffic jam. It's any part of the day. It's like Los Angeles now. So it's growing so much. My thing is this, George. How are you going to leave, like, Tampa Bay's in turmoil right now because of this hurricane and what it did to their stadium. Like,
right.
Even if Tennessee does get the franchise, does get the organization to come here, it's going to take a couple of years to build the stadium. I mean, I guess you could do some stuff with the Nashville Sound Stadium, but like, where I know that they've got their lease going with the Tampa Bay training facility or the New York Yankees training facility in Tampa. but like it just seems like it's in turmoil until they get this stuff figured out. Am I correct?
Yeah, and look, I don't know whether there is a scenario where a Tampa Bay Rays moves up here and plays in the Sound Stadium. Now,
yeah,
under the what conditions could lead to that? To me, it would be that the city figures out how to expand that stadium to more like 18 to 20,000. And I do believe there's room in First Horizon Park where you could do that. The other piece of it is that MLB would have to write a check to the Sounds to basically say, be a good corporate partner. We're going to pay you a buttload of money. And, in return, we ask that you, not complain.
That's what I was going to ask too. The Nashville Sounds being here, that means if a Major League Baseball ball club does come to the city of Nashville, does that fall on the Milwaukee Brewers because they're a Brewers organization? How does all that work, George? Like the Nashville Sounds obviously won't be in Nashville anymore, correct? So then how does the Major League Baseball step in? Obviously they will, but like is that more of a Brewers responsibility or is that more Major League Baseball?
Well, here's what, first of all, I think would have to happen. First of all, MLB has to stroke a very significant check to the Sounds ownership led by Frank Ward, because from a minor league standpoint, they're what's here. So eventually, when a major league team moves in here, the odds of a minor league team staying here are very, very small. I would not put that as a strong possibility at all. It would then be up to Frank Ward, the Sounds owner, in conjunction with the Milwaukee Brewers, who he has an agreement with right now, to figure out a city. Now, let's just, in theory, put it out there that I'm right eventually and Nashville is going to end up being a major league city. I could see cities like Knoxville, Memphis, Huntsville being really viable AA, AAA affiliates of that Nashville franchise. I'm getting way ahead, but look, I feel bad for the people in Tampa. The hurricane situation is awful. You wouldn't wish that on anybody. But there is more to this than just a hurricane. There are pissy feelings between Rays ownership and this Pinellas County Commission. And I'm starting to believe they're not getting it solved. I would tell, if I'm the Rays owners, I would tell them to take their Sunday deadline and shove it. I mean, give me a break. Why Sunday? What's so damn important that they have to have an answer on Sunday during a holiday?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just that doesn't add up right there, being it so soon, so quick with all the devastation that's going on. They're trying to run an organization, and then they're putting a gun to their head saying, "Hey, we want this now, and we want to know if you're committed to this now." I don't understand that either, George, to be honest.
Billy, anything you want to throw into this?
Well, we've got a comment here on YouTube. What I want someone to report is if Oracle's Larry Ellison is one of Stewart's billionaire investors, Bill Haslam may have already had a business relationship with Sternberg, who Stu Sternberg, of course, being reported might hope to get an expansion team.
Let me say this. I'm aware that Sternberg and Haslam know each other. That's as far as I'm going to go for right now. I reported on a group of potential investors that Dave Stewart might have, one of which involved Larry Ellison with Oracle. Another one that was involved that I reported on about a month ago was a guy named Taylor Alexander, a 1997 Vanderbilt graduate who, and I'm doing this off memory, so bear with me here if I get some of this wrong, I believe is the CEO or COO of Cox Enterprises. And I'm told he's worth a little more money than I am.
Just a little bit.
Rude.
Slightly.
But yeah, I mean, how soon do you think it happens? If what you want to happen, and what everybody wants really to happen, like what is the earliest this could happen?
I don't really know, Billy, but I think this whole state your intention by Sunday, I would tell them to shove it up their butt, that it's a holiday weekend, and let's get real about it. If you want an answer at some point next week, that's fine. But on Sunday, that appears to me to be two sides doing this, if you can see that. And so that tells me that there's more stuff behind the scenes, bad blood, bad feelings. And look, maybe I'm cynical, but I believe there's a real shot that something is going to happen. Now, by the time we have the mayor on next Wednesday, we may have a much clearer picture of where the whole Tampa Bay piece of this is. And, what I don't know, has our mayor spoken with Bill Haslam? Has our mayor spoken to Dave Stewart? Have they both been made aware that, look, they're going to have to participate in the funding of a new stadium, that once this dome stadium of the Titans is done, where we're being ripped off ticket-wise, that the city's tapped out? I mean, I think he's made that pretty clear. Now, what the city can do is offer infrastructure or offer property that would make sense for a potential stadium.
And that's the other side.
Yeah. That's there's a lot of stuff going on, man, and you raise up some good points, George. I don't like next week though. If they ask me to sign that, not this Sunday like they're asking, but next week, I think next week is even too soon. I don't know. I'm like you. I think people are clashing about this, and that's why they're trying to get these people to make a decision, the organization to make a decision, which I think is wrong. But hey, it could be in the interest of Nashville, and I can't wait to hear what the mayor has to say about that.
The Rays went on in their position to say the county's failure to finalize the bonds last month ended the ability for a 2028 delivery of the ballpark. As we have made clear at every step of this process, a 2029 ballpark delivery would result in significantly higher costs that we are not able to absorb alone.
There you go.
So, look, again, all of our hearts go out to that area for what they've dealt with in the hurricane world. You wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I will say that I think this goes way past the hurricane issue. The hurricane's an easy, this is bad. But I think there's more problems here. This is a lot pissier than that hurricane.
Yeah. Also, real quick, Colorado just upset UConn. So UConn, 2 straight losses to, Memphis and now Colorado just now.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Colorado was they were plus 850 on the money line.
If you want to build a new stadium, put it all on Colorado, I guess. So, Kelly, after the break, we will do Plaster Bet of the Day, which, as you know, is a commitment to excellence that hit kind of a, shall we say, a roadblock last night.
Yeah, which wasn't a commitment to excellence last night.
No, it was a commitment to the Ravens were better than the Chargers.
Yes, you knew that going in, and John is always beating his brother. Yeah, you did.
I don't know. I mean, the Chargers up till then, look, Baltimore exposed some things on the Chargers last night that we have not seen this year. Would you admit that?
Well, the Chargers are kind of they've gotten better with Harbaugh. There's no question, but it just seems like in the last couple of years, and it kind of showed up last night that
They're not very
sometimes
physical.
yeah, they do things that they shouldn't do, and they lose games in the most pivotal times when you can't. So there you go. That's why you lost.
I never heard you say all this, though, when I said, I'm going with the Chargers. You never stepped up and said, George, you're dead wrong.
You're stubborn. When you make a decision, you're going to make the decision and roll with it, which that's what I like about you. Right or wrong, you're like Coach Donnelly. Coach Donnelly made the decision. He didn't care if it was right or wrong. Most of the time he was right, but he made the decision. There's a lot of people in today's world that are scared to make decisions, and George, you're not.
Thank you so much. I've made a decision for tonight. I know Nashville and Middle Tennessee breathlessly await that news when we come back.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in a car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators take on the Philadelphia Flyers this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Get your tickets at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
All right, as we talked about earlier, got a busy night of college basketball. We'll see where George is going with Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. But first, let's check out what happened last night, as we just talked about. So any more rehashing you want to do on last night, George?
Not really.
So just chalk it up as an L.
I'm going to pull a Kelly. Move on.
Moving on. What do you got tonight?
So our record is 3 over 500 at the moment. It's not where we want to be, but it's also respectable. I'm going away from the MAC tonight. The possibility of watching Buffalo and Kent State does not do it for me. Kent State is ranked dead last in virtually every poll of the 134 Division I football teams. Kent State, dead last. Am I going to watch? Probably not. Tell you what, though, there's some great hoops games tonight. I've never seen a November slate that had 3 heavyweight title fights like these. Houston, Alabama at 7 o'clock. Duke, Kansas at 8 o'clock. Auburn, North Carolina at 10 p.m. I'm going Kansas. They're a 3-point dog tonight against Duke, and I'm not sure that's the way it ought to be. In fact, I kind of feel like the wrong team is favored. So I'm taking the Kansas Jayhawks. Billy, where are they playing? Where is that thing?
I think it's in Vegas.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Well, there are a lot of things in Vegas.
By the way, Ty does not want you to pick Kansas because his dad is a Kansas fan, and he told me that to tell you to not pick Kansas, but I guess it's too late.
Too late now. Tell Ty to go on somewhere and pick some better stat of the days.
Wow.
Hey, Kelly, you were on a roll. You had like 3-4 in a row last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but it's what have you done for me lately? And we hadn't come near anything. We hadn't sniffed it. Like we could have stayed here for a week and not got that last one.
Yeah,
Kansas, really?
That was pretty bad.
That was hard. Okay, tomorrow, our final show before Thanksgiving. Here's a little bit of what we'll be doing tomorrow. Mike Organ from the Tennessean, hardest working man in Nashville sports. Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. Another edition of Underdog Picks, where Kelly gets to gloat because he had a terrific pick. Congrats. That's good stuff.
I'm gonna take your pick too, George. I'm sorry. That's the way it's gonna have to be. I got to get back in this thing.
I got to think that one through.
Well, you just said it yesterday.
Oh, I can tell you right now, A&M's beating Texas.
Well, you said it yesterday.
Quinn Ewers gets sacked about 6 times.
How does MRI go, Billy? Do we know?
Not sure. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Okay, get back to me tomorrow because
MRI or not, he doesn't get a – listen, if you can get a pass rush on him, he ain't going anywhere.
Hey, but they get it out quick, George.
Well, they have to. He can't move a lick.
You're acting like
don't be a hater. George, I'm
not being a hater. I'm just saying that
you are. You're just
21 years old.
Walk. You can't walk anymore.
I'm that is not true. That is not true. At my age, you will wish to be in this good a shape. Oh, I'm tired of this discussion. We're out of here. Kelly, try to behave. That was a cheap shot.
The Greek freak, George Plaster.
And Billy, you were no better because I could hear you in the background chirping, just agreeing with whatever he put out there.
That was good stuff, Kelly.
Yeah.
Multiple,
we're done,
baby.
We're done.
Family.
See y'all tomorrow.
Make the family strong, Billy. Let's go.